What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our first look at the 2021 PGA Championship. DraftKings pricing just came out. It is Wednesday morning before the AT&T Byron Nelson. So this is our PGA model we just updated. It doesn't have the Byron Nelson stats in it, but we're going to take a quick run through of the DraftKings pricing of how guys are playing and just kind of get gut reactions. This is Major Week, though. On Major Week, we put out tons of content, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up. There's going to be a lot of new content coming your way. So, Craig, we are at Kiawah Island on the coast of South Carolina. We've hosted once before in 2012. Rory McIlroy.
Now, just to be clear, we are not there, and we are not hosting.
No, we're not there.
Kiawah Island has hosted 2012. Rory won. A slight little small margin, I think it was.
A little bit, minus 13 to,
record-setting margin, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. No, we are unfortunately still in Canada. I wish we were down there to play some golf, but we're still stuck
play some
up
golf,
here.
Watch some golf.
Totally. Okay, Craig, this will be the longest major championship on record. The scorecard will read 7,876 yards. The longest previous major before that was the 2017 U.S. Open at Erin Hills, won by Brooks Koepka. So with that in mind, you built the model already for the 2021 PGA Championship. What did the model tell you of kind of PGA Championships and Kiawah?
Listen, I don't build the model. The model builds itself. I just pointed in the right direction. So essentially, we look at the past 10 PGA Championships. It looks like everything is important. Obviously, putting is more important than around the green typically. And that holds true for Kiawah, or, just looking at the 2012 version, the 2012 rendition of this event, putting was more important. And then, most PGAs, it skews a little bit more approach than off the tee. But at Kiawah, the first time around, it was definitely off the tee was more important than approach. But, ball striking across the board is going to be important, but then putting for sure.
I got a little bit excited. I already hit my headphones out of my mic, but I got that fixed already. I already talked to you about the model, so I feel like we know where we're going a little bit. But let's talk about some of the guys up top. Let's talk about Rory.
Yeah, so
he's coming off that.
So win. I was going to say, it's starting right at the top. Rory is not someone we've seen, I think, as the highest priced player. I can't even remember the last time, to be honest. So it's interesting to see how quickly, he comes off a win, goes to a place where he has success. He's won here before. Yep. He's won 2 PGA championships before. He always gets a little bit of a major bump just because of how good his game suits major championship setups. So it's a high price, though.
It just tells you how good he is that we just needed to see one little thing. Like, even if he didn't win at Quail Hollow, I think he still would have been priced up because his history here, his history as a dominant golfer, we just needed that one little, does Rory have that fix? And boom, he's at the top of the market. And I think kind of rightfully so.
Yeah, and the one thing I remember saying to you partway through that basically I'm going to be hammering Rory in showdowns all week because his price is never going to be this low again. I think it's justified. I think it obviously the cost adjusted values we have here don't love it because his numbers have not been as great this year and last year and whatnot. But a long course. Obviously, he's one of the best long hitters in the game, and he knows the course. He's played well at the course. I'm not going to get into, I don't think, too much what I'm thinking in terms of whether I'm going to play it. It's going to be hard to resist, but there's a lot of people I like, I think, that provide a little bit better value than Rory in terms of DraftKings.
Let's just talk about that first tier. So we've got Rory going down the board, Rory, JT, DJ, Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Jordan Spieth rounding out the 10Ks. Do you think they're all kind of in the right order here a bit?
I disagree with it a little bit, but I definitely think that, to me, so it points me towards Rahm and Bryson, if I'm going to be honest. A long course that is going to play difficult. I think that those are the two that kind of stand out to me that I like. If I can play Jon Rahm at $1,000 discount to Rory, I like that. If I can play Bryson even a little bit cheaper in a long course, I don't know. It's going to be interesting for sure to see how it shakes out over the next week, how ownership speculation plays out, all these type of things.
Yeah, my initial reaction when I saw it is Rory, JT are priced too high. That's a nice discount we get for DJ with a couple unknowns in his game potentially. And then Jon Rahm is kind of the big kind of this doesn't seem to fit.
He did have a missed cut, so.
Okay, one miscut, and he's what, the fourth price guy here. He's still, I mean, looking at data golf to see the strokes gained total. We get the European stats in there as well, adjusted. He is leading strokes gained total the past 6 months of a top
And the
150
past
in the
2 years, and like basically almost any metric you want to look at, he leads strokes gained total. Yeah, I think so. So Rory, I think the Rory story is straightforward, and it's going to be told a whole lot of different ways over the course of the week. JT's interesting because his tee to green game has been so good, but his putting has been so bad. It's going to be hard to pay up for him with the shape his putter's in, I think, personally. DJ, I mean, DJ, it's just a matter of like who's going to show up. We haven't seen good DJ for a while, so I think his ownership's going to be low, but I mean, a major championship DJ can be a different person. So
Yeah, DJ, I think it's gonna be an interesting one. I think he could get some low ownership in this range. His off the tee, you can see recently hasn't been that bad. It's still there, so he can lean on that. And if his putter comes around, or his putter is there, I mean, he has good putting weeks, he's bad putting weeks. If it's there this week, then it could be one of those where he gets an early lead, and we're like, yeah, of course it's DJ. He's the best player in the
he's
world
properly
right
motivated.
now.
He won the Masters. He hasn't really done anything for a while. Obviously, he was going to come out here and dominate, but he did. He was so contrasting to the 2020 Masters in the fall. He contended the week before and went in there in very good form. He's just withdrawn from the
Yep.
withdrawn. He's withdrawn before the tournament started. He's not playing the AT&T Byron Nelson, so it is a bit of a different DJ. I'm gonna have a hard time justifying that $10,900 price, especially with the two guys right below him.
I got a little bit tidbit for DJ, and we are going to do a preview podcast where we go through our picks a little bit. So make sure to subscribe to our podcast. Links are below. But DJ, he played here. He was T48, I believe, last time in 2012, +5. But he had more birdies over the course of 4 rounds than the second place finisher, David Lynn. So like he scored. He just had, I think he had 2 triples, 2 doubles. He just kind of shot himself in the foot.
Yeah, and I haven't dug super deep into that yet, but I think weather was a huge issue. I know that they had weather delays, so it's one of these things where the more we kind of dig into that, there may have been unfavorable tee times and all that kind of thing. It's also a single tournament, so I'm not gonna, these guys that were around back then, I'm not gonna put too much weight into it. Besides just the fact they've experienced the course in major conditions.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of experience is just kind of a bonus. Even if they got 2 rounds in and got beaten up, they know what happened and they can adjust, what is it, 9 years down the road, right?
Now, Jordan Spieth, what do you think about this? So he comes in, our last guy, in the 10K range, 6th in pricing. He's looking to close out his career Grand Slam.
The Spieth Slam.
I don't know if it's the best course for him with this kind of length, but you can't argue with the form. Obviously, he is playing this week, so we don't know yet what he's going to do, but his form coming in is awesome.
He's definitely, and I would say this to as a couple guys, Brooks, Spieth, I want to see what happens at Byron Nelson just a little bit. They don't have to necessarily play well, but I don't want to see that their game is lost. Spieth's approach play has been unbelievable as of late. Everything else in his game, he's just been rock solid. He hasn't really had bad rounds. He had that COVID diagnosis. He took quite a bit of time off. He's back at the Byron Nelson. I want to see what happens there.
I want to see? I kind of want to see Spieth relevant at the Byron Nelson, and then fade him. And then personally fade him for the PGA, because I don't think it's a good fit. And so
I was going to say the exact opposite. Play poorly and then be like, no, I'll hop on.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with the Jordan Spieth, because he is so dynamic around the greens and on the greens, that he can go to places that don't seem like they should be great fits, and he can contend and he can win. But it's just tough. It's tough to see the longest setup in major history. Length is not his weapon. So I have a hard time seeing his path to contention here, unless he's just absolutely, transcendent on and around the greens, which Jordan Spieth has a habit of being able to do that.
And to be perfectly honest, right now, 8 days out, that's kind of where I'm leaning. I'm leaning a little bit more Open Championship, really long Open Championship, like you said, the wins. Yeah, link style. What are the winds going to do? And with that, I know the model kind of brought down around the green and then boosted putting, but I think scrambling, being able to get up and down, I think around the green game will be.
Yeah,
I
and I
just
mean
don't see
it's
how
slight. It's just relative to putting. Putting was more important last time here than around the green.
for sure.
But both, you compare major weeks to any other week, and short game is super important. So,
And I think that's what we saw a little bit from 2012. I think Poulter was up there. There's other guys up there that don't scream, long court.
I mean, typically,
long
anytime you get scoring closer to par, I think that starts to matter more, and it becomes, obviously the better players get differentiated more. You get more people able to contend just based on variance. When you have a birdie fest and it comes down to whoever has dropped the most, 10 to 15 foot birdie putts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so major pricing, we talk about the guys at the top, but the way they do this, it just makes, starting in the 9Ks or even like low 9Ks total balance lineup, it makes all that so appealing, so attractive. So what do you let's get into the 9K range. What do you think of this?
I mean, yeah, if you think about those guys up top, they have at best, like a 7-8% chance to win. Lump them all together, they might have a 35% chance to win that 10K. So if you take that and you're like, I'm going to go with the 70% and try to find 6 guys there, I think that's a super interesting build. And if you're building multiple lineups, I think you have to for sure entertain that. To me, there's clear ones that stick out a little bit more. Xander definitely sticks out.
So let's just rattle them off real quick. We got Collin Morikawa at 9,800, Xander at 9,600, Brooks, an interesting Brooks Koepka at 95, Hideki's 94, Victor Hovland 93, Webb Simpson 92, Patrick Reed 91, and Cantlay at 9,000.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, the top half here, I think we need to give respect to Morikawa. He is the defending champion at the end of the day, but I think he will be overlooked a little bit. And maybe not rightfully so.
I don't love the fit. I think, and I think he will probably be a little bit overlooked. I mean, he is so good that he can contend anywhere. The distance thing is the one thing that concerns me. He's so good, but I don't think this plays to his strengths. Whereas a Xander, $200 cheaper, that really stands out to me. Like if you started at Xander at 9,600, or if you felt that, if we see anything from Brooks at the Byron Nelson, because Brooks at 9,500, I mean, Brooks is a bit of a habit of overachieving in majors and the PGA.
We've seen some form. We've seen some injury. Brooks is going to be super interesting. He's a major he's won a couple of these PGAs and he's won on these long courses at US Opens as well, both PGAs and US Opens. Super intriguing. A guy I just have a hard time getting a gauge on.
Well, I think that's where this week will be very, a very, what is it, a bellwether, whatever. It'll be very indicative of what I'm going to do with him next week. And not even necessarily his result, but more like what he looks like, what we see from him. But Xander to me stands out. And then the other one, I think both of us are on is Victor Hovland at 9,300. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could start at Victor Hovland or even go Xander Victor. That might be a very chalky build. I think Victor Hovland may end up being a very highly owned guy in this slate because his form is so good. So it's weird because he's not that much longer than Collin Morikawa off the tee if you just look at like their average distance off the tee. But I think that he is more accurate at distances, and I think it's one of these ones also where you look at distance all drives. I think that's where he starts to stand out more because it's not just that he smashes it on par fives or like whatever 2 holes a tournament they're measuring distance on. He gets it out there on every hole, and then he's so good with long clubs hitting into greens, which I think is going to be very important. So I'm going to have a hard time not playing Victor Hovland in 80% of my lineups.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Talk again. I mean, we're only 50 minutes into it, and we got a 80% flag planted. No, I love Hovland. I think that's very true. People are going to be looking at driving distance a lot to be a little bit different, to get a couple different stats. Look at driving distance, all drives, taking in all those drives into account, not just kind of those 2 that they picked for the driving distance. I think that's a really good point. I like Hovland. I think we do got to mention Hideki Matsuyama. Masters winner, very dominant there. Went back to Japan, was in quarantine, is back for the Byron Nelson. See how that goes. But to me, it seems like a quick fade to me.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit, obviously for different reasons, but it'll be similar to Brooks, where I want to see what Hideki looks like.
Yeah.
We have not seen him. He said that he has not been playing or practicing much golf just because of the whirlwind his life has been over the past month. So it'll be very interesting to see what kind of form his game is in. But I'm going to have a very hard time rostering him, I think, at 9,400.
A guy who, let's click on Webb Simpson here, because I feel like a guy that is always just overlooked because he doesn't have that, 307 driving average. He gets it done with his hybrids, and he looks a little bit, he doesn't look like a super athletic freak doing it. It's just Webb, and he gets it done.
I don't know. He's looking pretty.
He's got his, I don't know if it's his sunscreen stuck on his face.
That's the classic. You know what's important? Being sun smart.
Yeah. Classic dad look.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's what I look like when I'm on a golf course. My wife would not let me go out there without sunscreen on.
Yeah. I think he's an interesting guy that will be overlooked because he's right around Victor Hovland, and he's right beside Patrick Reed. So a guy that I'm going to kind of see what the little birdies are chirping about for ownership as we get closer to, but someone I'm going to have my eye on.
Yeah, I do struggle a little bit with Webb because I feel like, he does find ways to be relevant, I feel like, in these tournaments that are not perfectly suited to his game, because what he does so well. But the problem I have is I don't know if I feel like he can win. Do I feel like he has, decent top 10 equity? Yeah, potentially. But so if I am, if he's a second guy in when I started in the 10Ks, or if I'm looking to kind of put in 3 guys in the 9s or something, I just have a hard time doing that if I don't feel like the guy has a decent amount of win equity, which would be the biggest problem I think I would see. Whereas a Patrick Reed, there's no reason that this should be a course fit for him, but you also feel like he just seems like he can go and win at random places for no reason at all.
But his card there, so we have tournament history on the bottom right there. That is PGA Tour champion, PGA Championship history. Mm-hmm. His card there kind of looks like Christmas. It's just red and bright green and red and bright green. Like, you don't know where you're going to get, but he does win. You're absolutely right.
So, if we look at Webb and we look at Patrick Cantlay, so the last 5 years, the 3 highest finishes would be Patrick Reed. I said Cantlay, but Patrick Reed. The 3 highest finishes would be Patrick Reed, and the 2 missed cuts would be Patrick Reed. So all of Webb's finishes fall in between the range that we see from Patrick Reed. Which, if you're thinking DFS GPP point of view, you kind of want the person that's volatile but has a chance to really pop.
But it's an interesting kind of psych talk, because do you really think you can build a lineup with 6 potential winners? Or are you like, you know what? It's going to be Rory, and then I'm going to go with Webb because I feel like it's a good, safe and upside. And then I'm going to go, this guy down in the 7Ks, which is volatile but upside. And then this guy safe at 8K. Like, what is that? Like, do people not roster him? Does he lose ownership because he doesn't have that?
We're talking about, does Webb lose ownership? I think he does. And so that would maybe be a good point, is that, if you think that all of the ownership around here is going to hop onto Hovland because everyone's going to go 80% on him, then so if you can,
I love Hovland too.
I know. I thought you were gonna give me a little barb there again.
I'll let it go. I'll let it go this time.
But so if you think you get the ownership leverage with Webb, then that's where I really think that, so say then he does come 5th and he is part of the ideal lineup, then there's going to be a lot less people who have taken that shot than who have taken the shot on Hovland.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish the 9Ks here and look at Patrick Cantlay's recent putting stats.
Well, we don't have his putting stats, but we do have his made cuts, his results here, and they haven't been good. I think I'm going to have a hard time playing Cantlay. I'm going to have a hard time, regardless of what his ownership turns out to be.
I think I'm there with you. I am a big Cantlay truther. He might still sneak it in if I think he's going to be less than 5% or 10% owned, but it's going to be hard.
He'll be less than
There's
10%.
Not a lot of. It's going to be purely on gut think he can turn around real quick.
And I mean, the thing is, we were seeing Cantlay, what was it at the Masters as recently as that? I feel like
6
as like a very chalky high nines. So it's interesting how quickly that has fallen, and you know, I don't think there's any way that I plug him into lineups right now.
I think this tier, let's call it like tier 2B, is interesting a little bit. It's starting at the top of the 8Ks. We got Cameron Smith, Will Zalatoris. Oh, you're scrolling on me and I lost my spot. Is it Daniel Berger? Will Zalatoris, Daniel Berger, Tony Finau, Scotty Scheffler, kind of 85 to 89. Kind of the up and comers, we could call it, or it's interesting. What do you think of this area here?
So I think, I mean, to me, I feel like there's quite a bit of value. So it kind of features, and maybe I'm just thinking Zalatoris, Berger, Finau. It's kind of like these guys who are really good ball strikers, but we don't really see a ton of actual like closing out the major to win it potential. But like you give them a lot of maybe top 5 potential. Cam Smith, however, I mean, I not in terms of the personality and their fandom, but I kind of put Cam Smith into a similar bucket as Patrick Reed right now, maybe a poor man's Patrick Reed, where you don't really understand how he's able to do it, but he's able to go out there and contend in hard tournaments, and he plays better on more difficult courses, I think, than anywhere.
Yep.
It's a big price though. Like I want to say we were getting Cam Smith at 83 or 82 going into the Masters, and I was very, very heavy on him there. But 89, it's a steep one. You know, whether we get there or not, you know, we'll deal with that down the road. But it's hard to argue with his results.
It's hard to argue with his form, and I think how he's getting it done. I think you kind of like. He seems like that grinder type that could excel here. You know, he could get 4 under through the course of 4 days and be in the top 5.
I think what we really need to do is figure out what his strokes gain have been since he's committed to the mullet, because it's clearly transformed his golf game.
I know I've gotten better since I've kind of grown.
Well, you got to go full mullet then. You can't long hair. I mean, you're rocking the
Pat Perez.
yeah. But Zalatoris, so I'm trying to think about his price at the Masters, but it was 73, 74, somewhere around there. So he has risen dramatically. It might be a pump the brakes for me. I'm not sure yet, but especially with Berger and Finau right below him, who I think are very, very steady options.
Yeah, so not to tease it, this is Wednesday morning. Our pick sheet hasn't come out, but Zalatoris is my guy for the Byron Nelson. I think I'm going to get my Zalatoris in. He's going to be my one and done. He's my pick to win. And then I think after that, I just can kind of leave it alone and like if he does well, then I can fade him. And if he doesn't, I'll just move on anyways.
Yeah. Now the thing is, like Zalatoris hits the ball a long ways. His ball striking's awesome.
He does. And all drives are better than driving distance for him.
And so it is hard to say. Like, this is where we've spoken about Zalatoris and a few other guys who have sort of risen over the past year. It's hard to figure out, like, you know, I've loved them all the way up. Like, it's hard to figure out where you want to be like, okay, like, we're getting expensive there, $8,800. I mean, you know, on a week, some weeks $8,800, you're like, absolutely. But on a major week, when you have, you know, above a Berger Finau, like Matt Fitzpatrick there at 8,400, you know, like all of these things start to look very attractive.
I just want someone that's a little bit more battle tested. I think I want, like, if I'm going in a battle like Kiawah, I want Ned Stark. I don't want Rob Stark. I don't want the young wolf. I want the battle tested, you know, vet a little bit. That's been there. That's got some bruises. That's got some cuts. That's been through the wind in the UK. That's been on the wind and wherever else they played.
Listen, Rob Stark never lost a battle, so let's not forget that. But yeah, so let's get going here through the 8s. So
I like Berger and
Finau. I like those. Scotty Scheffler, I feel like we've seen middling form, so I don't know yet what I'll do with that. But maybe finishing off the 8s here, we got Matt Fitzpatrick, Sung Jae, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Terrell Hatton, and Louis Oosthuizen.
I mean, my first reaction is, how did Rose get that high a price, kind of? I mean, I know he's played well in a couple events, but is that enough, like the Masters? But is that enough?
I
With
won't.
enough
I won't have
price?
any exposure to Rose.
No, I mean when you got Fleetwood and Hatton and Usti right
I,
there,
I'll struggle.
that's
I'll struggle with a couple of these guys actually. Fleetwood, we've seen middling. We've seen kind of ping ponging form. Matt Fitzpatrick, he does not have a great record. I was looking at this briefly. He does not have a great record at
oh
PGA Championships, but his form is good. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him this week at the Byron Nelson because I feel like he's one of these guys that has a major in his career. He's such a good putter that he can win in big fields, and so it's an interesting one to me, I think.
So, I mean, going back, if you go back to Matt Fitzpatrick there, I guess he's always been in the kind of the top 50 in the world for the past little while. I was going to say he's not quite the same player in 17, 18 with those missed cuts. But he's also not like he's taken another leap in his career.
And his form has been very good recently.
Yeah.
Sungjae.
I like Fitzpatrick.
Sungjae. Just have to figure out what to do with Sungjae.
I don't know what to do with Sungjae.
It'll probably be a no for me. I still need to see a little bit of major. He's one of these guys where I want to see the battle test in the major before I'm going to kind of commit to it. I do know that he had the good result in the Masters in the fall, but that one was a little bit different, obviously. This price,
but,
you know how much I love Sungjae. This price.
But I was going to say with Sungjae, I'd rather go probably Hatton. Like Hatton really stands out, 9th in the world, and he's priced at 8,000. Like he's below average. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but
yeah, we haven't seen the best of form from him for a little bit, but yeah, I don't know yet. But I just love Louis Oosthuizen. I'm going to roster him anytime I have the opportunity to, the privilege to, I would say.
Yeah, I mean he's got the runner-up major Grand Slam. He's been putting his lights out recently. It's just if he stays healthy, sweet swinging Louis has a chance at top 5 and can win. Like
there's those guys that you kind of feel like a major doesn't phase them at all. And that's absolutely, like if Francesco Molinari had any kind of form, he's one of those guys that you feel like there's nothing about Sunday at a major that's really going to make him play worse, or maybe a Tony Finau. It's different.
Yeah.
Or like people who like they know how much this means to their career and their legacy and all these things. Whereas like a Louis Oosthuizen, he's just like, man, like I'm gonna win this thing. So that's pretty sweet. I'm gonna go out there and continue to make golf shots.
I have a chance. Kind of like the ultimate DJ. Like, oh, look at. I got a chance.
Yeah. Now, in the interest of keeping this short, we'll maybe cruise through the 7Ks and then just kind of pick ones we like down in the 6s.
Yeah, I mean, one guy I want to talk about when I was doing quick research of the longest 3 majors previously, Adam Scott, I think, has 2 top 10s. A guy that doesn't play a lot of tournaments, but I think one that I'm going to keep on my short list for now. I think kind of like Louis Oosthuizen, he'll just pop in majors and pop at the big events when it kind of fits, when it kind of clicks.
Yeah, my one concern about Adam Scott is I was doing a bit of a deeper dive on him, I think maybe before the Masters, and he has somewhat transformed his game because he was one of the best ball strikers in the world for a good 10 years-ish there. And
yeah, you can see his strokes gain stats are
incredible. Absolutely. And how much of it, not just his tee to green, but like how much of it came from off the tee and approach. And we've seen that slow down, I think, obviously, as he has aged in the last few years. And the frustrating thing probably for him is that his around the green and putting stats have gotten better. So like, too bad these things all didn't line up for a few years in a row. But I'm going to pump the brakes on Adam Scott just because I don't think that, I'd have to look at when those tournaments were because he's not the same ball striker he used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to rattle off all the prices. Obviously, you can see them. Answer has been playing well of late. Lowry is going to be, I would guess he's going to be low owned, but he's been a kind of a silent good form.
Yeah, I mean, around the green and can I have no worries about him in the wind if the wind does pick up. I mean, he's kind of that profile.
And he's same price as Joaquin Niemann, who I think both of us are going to like, but who everyone else in the DFS world will like. So you have to think that Lowry's ownership will be low relative to Niemann.
Yep, I agree.
Couple of vets here
Jason
at
Day,
77, or a bunch of vets here at 77, 76. We've got Day, Casey, Garcia, Leishman, all at 77, 76, and then my boy Corey Connors.
there's okay, so yeah, there's a couple I want to talk about here. Before we get into Connors, let's talk about Casey for a sec.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're kind of forgetting how good Casey was at the start of 2020. Just looking at the past 6 months, strokes gained total, he ranks 10th in the world over the past 6 months. He's been playing great golf. He missed a cut at the RBC Heritage, didn't have a great finish at the Masters, but before that, like, he was one of the best players in the world. And we're getting him at 7,700. I kind of love that.
And I think like with ball striking too, like he was doing it in a way that you're like, it's not like he, say a Louis Oosthuizen who had been putting up really good results, but gaining over a stroke every time he was out on the course putting. Whereas Paul Casey, I mean, he was doing it with all facets of his game, but his ball striking was off the charts. I think it's a very, very interesting one at 77.
Yeah, over that time period, he was fourth in approach, fourth in tee to green, but still 39th in putting. So he wasn't like bleeding strokes there.
And then to me, Day and Garcia are kind of two different sides of the same coin. They're the old male lion who's hanging on to the pride that the young bucks are trying to challenge, and you never know when he's going to pull out that old form and just slap him around. But definitely have the battle scars. Jason Day, obviously. Health, obviously, I think is the issue. It makes his form inconsistent, and it's hard to kind of predict. But when it's there, he contends in big, hard tournaments. So I haven't thought through what I'm going to do there. And Garcia, it's the same old story. The ball striking's awesome. He's great off the tee, and the putting has continued to be problematic.
I think I've played Sergio Garcia in some kind of fantasy golf format one way or another in every Open Championship for the last 15 years. If I think this is an Open Championship, am I going to go away from Sergio? I don't know.
Now tell me why you are saying that if you think this is an Open Championship.
Why I think the course is?
Yeah, so just like expand it, like just because we're talking link style, coastal.
Yeah, link style. The course is a little bit built up, so the wind comes at it. Like there's no really protection from the wind, so the wind hits it very hard. It's on the coast,
and not even just on the coast, but on like a barrier island where we're way out there in the ocean, and wind comes in there, and we're on sand. All the kind of classic links traits.
Pete Dye design, so there's a lot of mounds, a lot of different things like that.
Well, now let's not discredit Pete and Alice Dye. Apparently, she had some good insights on this one.
And she's the one who told him to build it up. She's the one about a couple lakes there. So, yeah, definitely had a hand in it. Bunkering, where you're just going to kind of thinking of some of those bunkers where you have to go sideways almost. That's how I think of
for sure.
some of these bunkers.
So that's why we're kind of looking at people who we like Open Championship form and stuff. Yeah. But we're going to get into that more in our preview videos. One of the interesting ones, just real quick, you'll see people grounding their clubs in the bunkers and taking practice swings, which would be interesting. But okay, continuing on here, obviously Leash is a wild card as well. But Corey Connors, first thought, I love that price.
Yeah, well, again, so his ranking is 8th over the past 6 months in strokes gained total, so clearly value. He was chalk at the Masters, and he won someone $1 million in that lineup. So you don't have to fade all chalk. You can pick and choose what chalk you want to play. Corey Connors, I think, will be chalk again.
Now, the one thing I would say on Corey Connors, I think there will be people who stay away from him. So his ball striking is awesome, but he's not terribly long off the tee. But he actually has a very good record at long, difficult courses. So I think it's, maybe somewhat similar to a Hovland, where it's that combination of, for how long he is, he's very accurate. And then he's also really good at hitting whether it's a 3-wood or a long iron or whatever it is, hitting into greens from a longer distance out. He's very good at that. So Corey Connors is going to be all over my lineups. I'm going to have 80% Connors and Hovland. No, I'm just joking, but definitely will not be avoiding him.
He got an ace on like a 250-yard par 3 a week ago.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. A little bit still kind of fresh-faced in the whole major arena, I would say.
I mean, he hasn't had he hasn't been around that long at this level.
He Monday qualified just a couple years ago.
I think he might have Monday qualified for this tournament. I can't remember. Okay, so touring the bottom half of the 7Ks.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a significant drop off. Burns, Bubba, Gary Woodland, Lee Westwood, Garrick Higo, interesting there. Brian Harman, Matt Wallace, Keegan Bradley, Charlie Hoffman, Matt Wolf as a withdrawal now. Homa, Wise, English, Billy Horschel, Siwoo Kim. A lot, to me, Craig, a lot of question marks. I mean, let's just pick out a couple guys you think might be interesting in this area.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Burns is worth bringing up because he's just won. He's got a good driver and a good putter. I do struggle at 75. If he was 72, 71, I would like it a lot more. But we'll see whether he makes the pool. Garrick Higo, to me, love the player, don't love the price. He's not going to make lineups.
Yeah.
If you don't know, I mean, obviously he has won a couple times in the past few weeks over on the European Tour, but he has a prodigious short game, and I don't think a long course like this is going to be our best shot at a Higo. So.
I do think he can win anywhere, but let's remember he's a 21-year-old that just won on 2 resort courses, not, so it's a little bit different.
I think we're going to see him contend in majors at points, and we're going to see him, I hope we see him win in the States at some point, but I don't know if a longest ever PGA Championship course is going to be the time we see him pop.
Yeah. But I think there's 2 interesting names below him, Brian Harman, one of your boys, and Matt Wallace has been, and Keegan Bradley's been playing great as well.
Yeah, Brian Harman, I can't figure out. This guy's playing so good. He's not long in any ways. He's just played well at the Wells Fargo. He's played well at the Masters. He's playing well at all these courses where you think length is a prereq to do well. So I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with him, obviously, but it's intriguing.
And there's a couple Pete Dye. We want to look at Pete Dye. I mean, his 2 big finishes there, Dell Match Play and Players Championship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hard guy to figure out.
Now, Matt Wallace. So what do you think about this?
It seems cheap to me, but I'm a guy who's been stung by Matt Wallace before.
There's upside. I would say there's absolutely upside. His form is really good. He has a long-term good short game, and his ball striking seems to be in really good form right now. So it's kind of a perfect recipe for him to have a good result for Matt Wallace. Don't know yet from a DFS point of view what I'm going to do with that.
It's interesting. He was chalky, 7,500 at Wells Fargo, very highly owned, but paid off. So a lot of people might go right back to the well, which might drive his ownership up quite a bit. This worked out here. It was a long course. Let's go back to Matt Wallace. He's playing well.
You're talking me into it right now. Keegs, what? He won a PGA Championship, right? He won his first major outing, and I think it was at a PGA.
Yeah, I think that's
I think he was potentially relevant when it was at Kiawah Island in 2012 as well. His tee to green game has been awesome. His putting actually, we've got some green numbers along here, so that explains a little bit his good play in the past few months. Yeah,
So let me. This is a good opportunity just to talk a little bit of the 2012 PGA Championship. Keegan Bradley was T3. Ian Poulter was T3. Justin Rose was T3. Going down quickly, Bubba Watson was T11. That seems to be the guys that will still be playing
and somewhat relevant.
That were kind of top 20. Louis Uzi's in T21.
Of course he is. So I think Keegan will be very interesting at 73. Don't know yet what to do with that. The rest of the guys here, Wise seems expensive. Obviously, there's upside there. Homa.
Yeah, it seems really expensive to me.
Wells Fargo left a bad taste in my mouth for my one and done, but you never know with Homa. He's come off of miscuts to good results before. I'm trying to think. We haven't quite see him with any sort of major championship result yet. I don't think.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. I think you might be right. The one that kind of sticks out to me here a little bit is I kind of feel weird saying this, but Matt Jones he's just been playing well, I feel like, and kind of consistent too.
Yep. And on kind of similar notes, I like first thought Kokrak and Tringali both seem like I think Kokrak still has decent form. Yeah, I mean decent enough. Tied for 13 his last time out. Tringali, I guess his last one was the missed cut there, but yeah, I don't know if we're going to start to see Tringali cool off here. He might have been playing above his head there for a while, but we'll see.
That's kind of where I'm initially thinking, but also seeing him at 7,100, he can be the last person in on lineups, knowing he's been playing well. But that's my initial thought is the same as you. Like, was he just kind of punching above his weight for a little bit?
Yeah, I do. I was reading somewhere, I think it was potentially on Twitter, that he actually, one of the reasons it may look like he's been punching above his weight is he's actually he's adding a little bit of distance. So maybe that could be one of the reasons his results have improved without it kind of clearly being like, oh, his putting was on fire for last month or something. But yeah, that one I'm going to dig into a bit more.
I think as we get down here, there's just lots of interesting names where it'll take some research, and this is what our future videos are going to look like. But Bobby Mack stands out, of course, at 7,000. I mean, last time we saw him, I think stateside, he was hitting into Dustin Johnson's heels at the Del Match.
No, last time he was like leading the. Oh no, I guess that was after. Was that before or after the Masters?
That was before.
Yeah, so it was at the Masters where he was like one of the leaders in birdies, but still had like a middling
and got T11 to get his invite back. So he played well. He played well there.
Made a lot of bogeys though.
Made a lot of bogeys. That's my guy. That's my DFS points right there.
Yeah. Now, anyone jumping out the rest of the way down here?
I mean, okay, so if we stop there for a second, Ryan Palmer's been playing very, very good. Definitely intriguing. I think Carlos Ortiz is a little bit too discount. It's an interesting range. Stuart Sink, one of the top longest hitters on the PGA right now. Thomas Peters has been actually positive in his strokes gained putting for 2021. Limited sample size, but he has been positive. The Belgian bomber.
And you know what? I think he's one of these people who is the more longer difficult course, the better, because he has the tee to green game to do it on those courses. The wild card with him is the putter. But I want to say he was a top 25 at the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. So, he had a stretch there where he was playing unreal golf at the U.S. Open. So he definitely has that pop of ability.
I'm not gonna lie. So back in January, I made one bet for all majors. I kind of bet winners. Thomas Peters was my one here. I got him at 150 to 1. It's just sitting there in my betting account. I think he's a good fit. He's super long. Obviously European, lots of experience on the European tour. So I think he's interesting for sure.
Yeah. I think that Schwartzel, I've been talking of Schwartzel of recent. One of the things I was saying is that long, difficult courses, he seems to outperform what he does everywhere else. So that's one to keep an eye on. Yeah. We do have him at Byron Nelson, so maybe keep an eye on his form this week.
There's a couple down low. If we scroll into kind of the 63s that I think might be interesting a little bit. Some guys that perhaps have shown some form or just kind of fit the course, I think. Mm-hmm. But a lot down here, a lot of Euros down here. The ones I was going to say are, now I can't find them. Brandon Stone, Burmeister, a couple guys that I think will be interesting, a couple South Africans. Burmeister got the win and then followed up with a T4 to crack the top 100 in the official golf ranking, so he got his invite here.
I do think the one thing with Burmeister is those were at resort courses, so like that's the one to deeper dive into how he's played at longer, more difficult courses.
But looking at 2020, this is 2021. His driving distance on the European Tour is 320 yards. Pretty
so
far.
You're thinking long might actually not be the worst thing. Yeah, I don't know. I may have a hard time going below 66. I feel like.
Oh, I think I got to do a couple stars and scrubs. Give me.
But I feel like you can do some stars and scrubs, like maybe a Gooch, Noren Rosner. Like I feel like we're seeing a bit of a quality here at Lanto, Munoz. Like it feels like this is kind of there's a decent potential here and like enough made cut equity that I might find that's the lowest I go, but we'll see as we get closer to the week.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I might want to dip down a little bit lower and try to find that GPP
diamond in the rough.
Diamond. Yeah, the diamond in the rough. Okay, Craig, I think that's our quick preview. That's our first look at this, our first research into this. Anything you want to add before we kind of take off?
No, I mean, as Adam said, subscribe. We're going to have lots of content coming out this week. Follow on Twitter at Grandstand Golf, because that's the other place you'll see everything we have coming out. This model here will be public, I think, probably Thursday or Friday, once the Byron Nelson has started, and that one is no longer of much use. This one will replace it on the website, so we'll have the link below for that. But note, if you are looking at this on Thursday, you'll see a Byron Nelson one probably.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. That was kind of our quick research first look at the DraftKings pricing. Hopefully it helped you kind of start off your kind of builds for the PGA Championship. It's going to be a great week. It's going to be a fantastic venue. It's going to be a great viewing experience. Subscribe to the channel. Lots more coming your way. Good luck at the Byron Nelson. We will see you again for other PGA content shortly.
Yep. See you next time.
Yeah.